exclusively on Secular Media Network. This is the Gaytheist Manifesto.
Hello and welcome to the Gaytheist Manifesto, your source for news, commentary, discussion, and debate at the intersection of the atheist movement and the LGBT rights movement. I am your host, Callie Wright, joined by my co-host, Ari Stillman. Callie, I can't even do this. Ari, I almost forgot my name a minute ago.
You almost forgot your own name?
I almost forgot my own name. Like,
what did you think
I'm your
was?
host. Shit, what is my name again? God, I'm leaving that all in. That's fine. Ari, what's going on? How are you?
I have a second prediction to make about this episode.
Oh God, I can't wait.
Best episode ever.
Okay, fair enough. That is a high bar to set, my friend. If I do say so myself about my own podcast, so that's cool.
Because all of the best people are here, and I won't spoil it because you're about to introduce people.
Yeah, that's fair. So this week we're going to do a roundtable about queer relationships. We talk a lot about the dynamics of living as a queer person, living as a trans person, the intersectionality with atheism and secularism and that kind of stuff. And I don't know that we've ever done kind of a deep dive on what it's like to just live in society, being in a queer relationship of many different varieties, and sort of how that affects the way that we navigate through society. So on the show this week, this is going to be a long introduction because I was saying before we started the show, this may be the biggest guest panel we've ever had, aside from the Atheist Avengers folks. I'm not sure if there was more in that or not. But so we have my lovely girlfriend, Celeste Dreyer. Hello, love.
Hello. And Ari, I'm actually considered one of the best people. Come on now.
Of course. Not even a question.
Ari's giving compliments. You need to just take it because that's not going to last long.
I'm just confused because it's Ari.
Ari, would you like to introduce your partners?
So, sitting to my immediate left is my partner, Zach Stillman. Say hi, Zachary.
Heidi ho.
Howdy ho. And also on the line, we have my other partner, Jeremiah Traeger, who is 987 miles to my west.
Queerly beloved, we are gathered here to gay.
You're going to come on my show and pull this crap. I like their show. I'm very respectful, and I'm going to save the stupid stuff for my show because I don't want to be ruining their show.
I got to get out my puns now that I'm only doing the science segments. So
that's
there we
true.
go.
Tell people who you are so that people know who you are. Just some random ass.
I do No Religion Required. Recently, I'm taking more of a backseat role and just doing the science stuff. So, yeah.
All right. Yep. And then also on the line here, we have my friend Matt and his husband Tyler. Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Cool. So I wanted to just kind of be an informal conversation. I didn't prepare like a list of let's answer specific interview questions. So I'm just curious, Matt and Tyler, since you're the newcomers to the show, and Zach too, but we'll get to him in a minute. So you guys are recently married. Congratulations, first of all.
Thank you. It'll be 3 months on Friday.
That's
wow,
awesome.
That's very recent.
That is amazing.
Yes, claps all around. So, you guys would just want to give us a bit of your story and how you met, how you got to where you are. That's a great opening response.
Sounds like a good story.
It's always a little give the version we don't give our family.
Fair.
So, we were both on OkCupid, and I get a message from this guy who, he asked if I would go on a date, and I'm like, sure, why not? And he, obviously being Matt, ended up coming to the coffee shop I worked at later that day.
That's awesome.
So we got a little pre-introduction that kind of bombed.
Yeah, I was really shy and I didn't talk to him. He thought I was just not interested and ignored him the whole time. But I was nervous because he was so cute. I just sat over in the corner and said, Oh, there's no way. There's no way you got this. But
So
then he
you,
paid me
were
back.
wait a minute.
He
You
had
were bold. You were bold enough to like. I'm gonna go to where this guy works. I'm gonna go to the coffee shop. Same day we sent a message, and and then you're like,
Yeah.
okay, now I'm gonna be shy.
Well, then he paid me back because we had our first date the next day,
Yeah.
and he slept through it. I went to the
Auspicious
restaurant,
beginnings.
ordered my food, waited 15 minutes, half hour, 45 minutes, hour. How long was it? Like,
It was embarrassingly long for each of us to
Yeah.
still have been involved.
and then, yeah, right as I'm getting ready to finally give up, I get a text. It's like, I just woke up. And I waited a little longer, and he finally showed up, and we ended up spending the rest of the day together. And a little over 4 years later, we're married.
Oh, and everyone lived happily ever after. That's adorable. I love that.
That is a really nice story.
And
Until they get divorced in 3 years.
Whoa.
Ari, you wanna give the breakdown of your relationship situation there?
So Zach and I have been together for almost 6 years now, I think.
Yeah.
Or yeah,
Somewhere
almost
around
6 years. We met in high school, but we weren't a couple, and we ended up going to 2 different colleges in the same town in Central Arkansas. So we decided just to become, friends. And Zach had an internet girlfriend at the time, so that was
Nice.
fun. And I was super jelly and super butthurt about that.
Yeah, very inappropriate exchanges.
But Zach was like, you're pretty cool. I think you're cool. So I'm going to break up with my internet girlfriend.
Yep.
And she was not happy with that.
A little butthurt.
Yeah. So then, I don't know, we did the couple thing. And then Jeremiah came and fucked everything up.
Oh,
That's
Jeremiah.
what I tend to do.
Yeah, that's.
How about
I didn't
since
know.
You talk about that.
Well, I mean, our relationship is not divorceable at all from the podcast activism shit. So like, I don't know, like, I saw that Ari was on the Gaytheist Manifesto, and I think it was Christmas of last year, and I wanted to send a ton of, cards to, all the, atheist podcasters that I thought were friends of mine, and I wanted to make Ari feel welcomed because I thought they contributed a lot to the show. And by a lot, I mean just really snarky, dumb stuff, which is what I enjoy. And then I think they were probably like, what the hell is this weirdo? And then I probably caught their attention because our birthday is like the same birthday weekend. I'm born January 29th. They're born January 30th. And by the way, who's the Bryce Blankenagel is January 31st as a side note. But I think on No Religion Required, I said happy birthday to me and to Ari. And
I was like, oh, that's sweet. I barely even know this guy.
But I used their proper pronoun, so I think that's why.
That's where the bar's at for you, Ari.
Yeah, I think I messaged him and I was like, thanks for the birthday shout out, and also thanks for using the right pronoun. That was really cool.
Nice. Well, yeah, and I remember you being a little tipsy, Ari, and sending me a text like, I think I'm crushing on Jeremiah.
Yeah, that was a few months later because we ended up talking a lot on Facebook through Facebook Messenger, and it got to the point where we were talking all day on Facebook Messenger, like all day, every day, like sending gifts and stuff and just being flirty. And one night I was hanging out with my friends and, drinking some wine, and I messaged him and I was like, hey, so I think you're really cute and funny and smart and compassionate, and I know we're both going to Reason Rally, and would you like to do snugglings? And he was like, yeah.
I hope
let's
that's exactly how you said it, because I love that.
That I can confirm that is exactly how they said it. And that was also the weekend of NanoCon, so we just got to watch pictures of everybody having fun and hugging each other, and we were just like alone at home because we're 987 miles apart. So.
Right. Perfect. Yeah, and I don't know if I've told the entire story about how Celeste and I met on the show. So there's a trans community group in Cincinnati that has a secret Facebook group, and I got permission from the mods to say, it was like, hey, I do this podcast. It'd probably be relevant to some of the people. Is it cool if I blurb it, in the group? And they said it was. So I made a very like non-intrusive, like, hey, this is a show. It's about queer and trans stuff and atheism, and like if that means something to you, maybe you'd enjoy it. And so Celeste responded, became a listener, became a patron, and we met doing the Google Hangouts, and it was really funny because she ended up adding me on Facebook, and I was kind of stalking her Facebook profile thinking like, wow, she's kind of cute, like maybe I should ask her out. And then I had a really, really awful experience on a dating website one night where it was one of those things where somebody was like being super nice and super polite and super complimentary, and like we were kind of hitting it off, and it's like you get to the point where it's like, cool, like here's my phone number, you want to send me a text, and like for safety reasons on a dating website as a trans person, you kind of got to be like, okay, cool, so like this is cool, but like you read my profile, right? Like the very first 2 sentences where it says I'm trans, like that's going to be like, that's cool. And it usually never is. It's horrible. People say nasty things. People straight up stop responding. It's just, it's awful. And so sure enough, they went, and, oh, sorry, I don't think I'd be into that. And it was terrible. And so I posted this rant on Facebook about how terrible it was. And I woke up the next morning to a message from Celeste asking me out, which was really sweet.
I don't normally do things like that either. Like, I'm a very shy person. I don't send messages that are... And I was very antisocial back then, too. It was just me coming out after... I guess it was... October, so
yeah,
I'd only been out as myself for about 6 months. That's it.
Mm-hmm. And then so we figured out like, yeah, like I'd love to. I've been kind of stalking your profile, thinking about asking you out too. So like it was cool. And then we both figured out that we had Tuesdays free at the time, and we're like, cool, like let's get together next Tuesday. We'll like do dinner and a movie or something like that. And then I realized, hey, today is Tuesday. Like I don't have anything going on. What about you? And she's like, no. And I was like, cool. Like let's do dinner tonight. Like, not a lot of time, so we're not going to be able to do anything fancy. But like I'll run to the store and grab some stuff, and we'll cook dinner and watch a movie, whatever. And so I cooked my specialty breakfast for dinner, which was awesome.
Yes, that's my favorite.
Mm-hmm. And Celeste doesn't like gravy, and she ate the gravy anyways because that's the kind of person she is. Not like my gravy was bad. She's just not a gravy person, which is fine.
I still don't like sausage gravy that much,
which is all fine. And then, so we put on the movie, and we ended up not watching the movie because we were just talking, and we were really hitting it off, and it was great. And she kind of snuggled up to me a little bit, and I'm like, wow, this is really cool. And like, I'm usually the person in relationships that takes the initiative and kind of like, okay, I'm going to hold your hand. Okay, I'm going to snuggle. And like, she was doing all of it. Like, it's cool. And then, and this is the part where everyone thinks I'm a liar, and I'm not a liar, for the record, but
allegedly.
She's lying.
We were in the living room sitting on the couch, and I was like, you know what? This couch is really, really not that comfortable to snuggle on. So like, we might be more comfortable if we went in my room.
Mm.
And that was an innocent suggestion. No one believes me. No one's ever going to believe me, and that's fine. But it's the truth. It was an innocent suggestion.
You're right. I don't believe you.
Sweet innocent Callie.
Right. And so we went in my room, put on another movie, and we'll just say we didn't watch that movie either. One thing kind of led to another, and Celeste just looks up at me and she goes, "We're not watching this one either, are we?" And I was like, "No, I don't think we are." And that was the story of how we went from 0 to 60 in like 2 seconds. So
Ari was very confused the next day.
I was so confused.
Oh God. So now that we've kind of got the baseline stuff out of the way, Matt, you mentioned that you tell a slightly different story to your parents about how you guys met. Is it just because of the awkward circumstances of how you met, or like how does that work?
It's more like the online dating thing. I think we tell them we met at the coffee shop we worked at.
I gotcha.
It sounds cuter too.
I don't know. I think the whole like, oh, it was really kind of weird and awkward, but it like worked out and we fell in love. Like, I don't know. I'm a big fan of that, but
there's a really silly stigma against online dating, especially for like us. Not Callie, but us introverts, you know.
Yeah, I'm kind of the
Well, a lot of times my parents too. I just, they're very good people. They're very accepting. I just want to make it as simple as possible. Yep, we
that's fair.
Top, Mom, that's it.
Yeah, that's fair. So, speaking specifically of navigating this relationship life, what are the sort of compromises that we feel we have to make? Does anybody have any relevant stories as far as that goes about how you kind of have to, I don't know, try to maybe pass for straight in public or be careful or anything like that? Is there any sort of that dynamic with anyone on the call here?
Well, no, but like, yes. I came out literally 1999, 2000 when I was like 14, 15 years old. And I remember being 15 and being with a boy at Tri-County Mall holding hands. And
Tri-County Mall. Oh, Jesus.
And like, we'll get into the heavy shit, but my boyfriend I was with for 5 years ended up taking his own life in the early 2000s.
Oh, God, I'm so sorry.
My apartment, just because of family pressure, and he had a real hard time accepting it. So I do. I have this it's silly, it's stupid in my head. I shouldn't, but like every time he holds my hand in public, I still feel like, oh, we shouldn't be doing this. We're going to get in trouble. Somebody's going to yell at us. And it's totally not that way. No one ever has since we've been dating, but I still feel it. And I hate that I feel it.
Yeah, I have the same thing in the back of my head. I mean, being queer and being trans, I mean, even when I'm out in public just by myself, I've kind of always got my head on a swivel. It's not a thing where I'm like actively paranoid and like actively worried and afraid when I'm out. But it's always something that's in the back of my head. And I hate, like, I don't ever want to change my behavior because of it. Like, I'm never going to not hold Celeste's hand, or I'm never going to not give her a kiss on the cheek when I want to. But it's something that, I mean, in the back of my head, it's literally every single time I'm thinking, like, what if the wrong person sees this or, decides they have a problem with it? It's rough. Ari, is there any stuff like that for you guys?
I have almost the opposite problem because when people see Zach and I, or even me and Jeremiah, they assume that we're a straight couple. Because I don't like to present femininely, but people assume based on my body and my voice and everything that I am a woman or a girl, which freaks me out. So it's good for safety, obviously, because we don't have to worry about people, harassing us for appearing to be outwardly queer. But at the same time, it's something that I wish people would notice more. I don't know. What do you think about that, Zach?
I had this weird thing for a while early on where I was afraid of coming off as gay because I'm a pretty straight guy.
Super straight, everybody, just so we're clear.
Not defensive at all.
Both me and Zach are totally straight, okay?
And so for a time I was really concerned that I would come across as who I'm not if I would use the verbiage partner. And you had some pronoun stuff back in Arkansas that you tried to play
Yeah,
off.
for a while when I first came out as non-binary, I was going with alternating between she, her, and he, his pronouns, which didn't really work out because people would always just use she, her.
It's also just really confusing.
Yeah, and it was confusing to people anyway. But
options are great.
So
Right.
When I first came out as non-binary, it was difficult because Zach would talk about me and he would call me his girlfriend, and I'd be uncomfortable with that because I'd say, well, I'm not a girl, so I'm not your girlfriend.
Right.
But he didn't want people to assume that he was in a relationship with a man, because a lot of people, if you use a gender neutral term for your partner,
they assume it's
Yeah, so it took him a while to become more comfortable with that.
Yeah. So
we had to work on that for a while.
Yeah.
I'm pretty good about it now.
Yeah, I think so. And you use the correct pronouns for me, even with people that don't know me now.
Right.
So that's good.
They're still explaining this stuff to my parents, but
Yeah, that's a whole other story.
Well, so is it a situation where it's kind of a little bit of erasure? Like, obviously, I don't feel like I have to broadcast to the world that I'm queer or anything like that, but it's something, it's part of my identity, and so I would feel like being perceived from the outside to be, cis and straight when you're really not. Like, if that can be kind of an erasure situation. So it's, I would imagine it's still not fun in that way. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I think so. It makes me uncomfortable if I think that people are looking at me and assuming that I'm like a straight woman or something, because, well, there's the whole dysphoria thing of being assumed a woman, which is bad enough. I guess I could deal with the being assumed straight thing because that's just the nature of being bisexual or pansexual, is that whoever you're with at the time, people assume that that's who you're attracted to strictly.
Right.
So I can live with that. I think it's more the dysphoria of people assuming that I'm a straight woman, although I don't know how you could look at me and assume that I'm a straight woman unless I'm holding hands with the guy.
Right. And Jeremiah, I'm curious. I know you and Ari have only got to, hang out like in person together twice, but I'm curious if there's any if there's any of that in there for you.
No, not really, because, well, the first time we were together physically was at the Reason Rally, and everybody knew our story. It's the weirdest thing. Like, there's no relationship quite like it, which is kind of cool. But we never had to, like, pretend to be something other than what we were. I think we had lunch with people from the American Humanist Association, and I think they were pretty progressive, and I don't recall them having any problems with Ari's gender or anything. They were pretty accepting, and that was really cool.
I don't think we even talked about that, honestly.
What?
I don't think we talked about that with them.
I guess we didn't. I don't know. I guess, there aren't any really problems that I came across. The second time, we didn't really interact with many other humans. We just went out. We went out and did stuff and went out for dinner and stuff. Things. So no real fear, I guess. I don't know how hard it felt. Yeah.
Hello, I'm Alan Cumming. Live Out Loud is calling on the LGBT community to help improve life for gay teens. Take what you know and gay it forward through the Homecoming Project, a chance to return to your old high school and share your story with LGBTQ youth. Your life experiences and wisdom can prove invaluable to teens who may be struggling with their own identities and paths in life. One day can make a lasting difference. Gay it forward with the Homecoming Project. Find us at liveoutloud.info to learn how you can get involved today.
The staff of Secular Coalition for America lobbies U.S. Congress on issues of separation of church and state, and they've become a powerhouse for change in the United States government. You'll definitely want to subscribe to receive their email action alerts. These are updates for important issues and ones that you can get involved with directly. And hopefully, you'll consider making a contribution to the Secular Coalition for America to help them continue fighting for your equality. You can do it all at secular.org.
Hi, this is Trav Mamone of the By Any Means podcast. The By Any Means podcast is a weekly show where I interview guests about the intersections of social justice and humanism. Just go to www.byanymeans.com, that's by spelled B-I, to hear the podcast and read the blog. Because, hey, aren't we all a little bi-curious?
So, does anyone have any family stories that they'd like to share? Good or bad, funny, awkward, anything like that about sort of because the reason that I ask is I feel like in my situation, there was theory and there was application, right? And I feel like a lot of people in my life were 100% supportive, 100% behind everything that I was doing until it came times like, okay, my name is Callie now, my pronouns are she, and oh, by the way, here is my trans girlfriend. And it's not that people's attitudes changed or anything like that. It's just, it's when you're confronted with the practical application, like, oh, this is a real thing. So like, you know, before you were this like sweaty, stinky dude that wore nothing but t-shirts and gym shorts, and now you're a woman, and now you're also queer, and like, it's just a lot to take in. So, you know, it wasn't like non-acceptance or anything like that, but I feel like it was kind of an awkward adjustment. And the scenario that I always put forth is with my grandma, and unfortunately my grandma and I don't talk anymore. I don't know if that'll change in the future or not. That's a really long story. But the thing that I was always curious about is because I don't think will ever accept me as a woman. It took me screaming and crying for her to even call me Callie. Which like I kind of feel like an asshole for yelling at my grandma, even though she kind of deserved it. It's one of those weird things. But so I was always curious because I'm fairly fluid with my sexuality. There's really no single category of person that I'm attracted to. So I was just, you know, I'd always wonder like, so if I came home with a girl, she would see that as a straight relationship and she would accept it for the wrong reasons. But if I came home with a guy, she would see that as a gay relationship, even though it wasn't, and she wouldn't be okay with it. And that whole dynamic is just a complete and utter mind F for me. So does anyone here have stories or thoughts or anything along those lines?
I do, actually.
Go for it.
I think I've told you about this a few times, and I don't think he's going to be listening to this, so whatever. It was just a month after we were dating, and it was actually Thanksgiving. I was over at my dad's house for Thanksgiving, which, But I was showing pictures of you to my sister and his wife, and I still get upset by this, but he just walks up, looks at the picture of you, goes, "That's a man," and walks off. And I almost just got up and left. I was that angry. And yeah, it's not a good story. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. I want the whole gamut here. I'm very interested in the funny, the awkward, the bad, because I'd like to paint a real relationship or a real picture of what these relationships can be, and kind of some of the differences between straight relationships and how queer relationships can be. Any other interesting stories?
Well, between the two of us, we have very different families in just about every respect. I come from a very, very small family. There's just really four of us. When I came out, and I came out at a very young age, I found out my parents had been making bets about it. My dad lost money. He was very upset. But that was the only thing they were upset about. And my parents adopted all of their children, both of their children. And I think something along the line, my dad said, when you work so hard and wait so long and trying to get children, you love them. Like, there's just no other way. So I've had a very accepting family. In fact, my sister's a lesbian, and she came out and took all the steam out of her. She was like, "Oh, I'm a lesbian." They're like, "Pass the salt, honey." And like, it's so there's been almost no family problems with me. I think my parents did struggle for a while with it, but they did so very privately and not in front of me.
Right.
Until everything was worked around. Now, Tyler's...
On the other hand, I come from an extremely large family. Both of my parents are one of four, and then I have more cousins than I can count. And both sides of my family are deeply religious. So when I came out at 16, first off, it wasn't really my choice. My dad was like, I know something's going on with you, like, what's bothering you? And it was a very rough conversation. He literally pulled out the Bible and was talking about how, like, you shouldn't do that. And I was like, yeah, but it also says if you, like, find mold in your house, you need to burn it down, but you can have Clorox. So, and then my mom, who's from Texas, came down and we were talking, and she was just bawling. So it was, high school was pretty rough. Just tension. Like, at the end of the conversation, they're like, we're always going to love you. Like, that's that. But we, the whole, like, love the sinner, hate the sin.
Yeah, which is such horse shit.
Yeah. But, I mean, like, that tension never really went away until Matt came around. Yeah, and they're, like, they sent me to counseling. And, like, I remember one time a couple years ago, I was seeing this guy and I put it on Facebook, but I, like, made sure that only, like, 4 people could see it, and didn't make sure well enough. And so I get a call from my mom bawling, like, is this true? And I'm like, well, yeah. And then, like, Matt and I weren't, like, Facebook official until we were engaged.
Oh,
even
Gotcha.
though I've met the family many times, but, like, and I would always joke, I'm just like, can we get Facebook official? It's been 3 years, and it just we're not. And I do want to say, we actually just saw his family today.
Yeah,
before we came home from his nephew's birthday party, and our nephew. It is a 180 change.
Oh wow, that's awesome.
Yeah,
I get not just like we accept you and you're into it, like I am part of the family. One of the times we were hanging out recently, I was just standing in their yard and his mom came over and just kind of put her arm around me, just friendly, casual, and just it's night and day from what it used to be. There's still Jesus freaks and racists, but
it's a work in progress.
It's a work in progress, but I have to say I always give them mad respect that I don't feel like I'm not part of. I feel like I am part of the family. I am family, and they treat me as such, and it is a great feeling.
Yeah, Mom gets pissed if I go out there by myself.
Yeah, she's where's Matt?
Wow, that's
Matt?
awesome.
Bring Matt, and then he's sitting at home playing video games.
Well, and so I mean, what triggered that change? Was it? Was it just meeting you and realizing, like, wait a minute, gay people aren't fanged monsters? Like,
Callie, I am fucking likable. No.
Well, I mean, that's true, but
well, my theory is actually, though, the way you get rid of hate and discrimination is you become friends with the people and you learn that they're not monsters or subhuman. And I'd like to think that's part of it, but I almost think it's sheer. I'm not leaving. I'm here. Yeah.
Right. It's just kind of like we gotta. This is gonna happen whether we like it or not. So we might as well just learn to like it, kind of thing.
Yeah, it was this is the 8th time he's been out here, so better get used to him.
Yeah, and then it goes from 1 year to 2 year to 3 year to 4 year to the point where we finally told them we were getting married. It was a celebration. Absolutely.
Oh, that makes me so happy.
Mm-hmm.
Any other family anecdotes to relate from anyone?
Oh, we do have a really quick story.
Oh yeah, go for it.
We did get one pushback. It was your great aunt.
Yeah, it was Grandpa's sister.
Right after we got married, she was like, "So which one of you is the husband and which one of you is the wife?"
Oh.
And Tyler answered the question which is a good thing, because if I answer questions like that, it's, "Do you need me to call someone for you senile old fuck?" But what did you say?
I said, that's like asking which chopstick's the fork. And she looks at me and she goes, well, I guess you're not answering my question.
That's the worst.
Nope, I'm not answering your question.
She's like 85 years old, and I see her once every 4 years. So
I'm like, you'll be
kind of
dead soon. It's fine. It's fine. She'll die anytime now. It's fine.
Oh,
Fair enough. Yeah, I've cut off contact with most of my family actually, and it's not so much the queerness and the relationships and all that, just over being trans. I mean, really what it did was it made me stop pretending, because most of my extended family are people that I just like, oh, hey, it's Thanksgiving, and we make painful small talk for 5 minutes, and that's it. So I'm just like, why do I need to stop pretending? But then, my aunt and my grandma, who I was really close to, I don't really talk to anymore. And I was really, really happy that my, immediate family, my brother, my sister, my mom are really great. And, there's always that twinge of nervousness. I'm like, okay, like I'm actually in a relationship with someone now, and like, all right, we gotta arrange a dinner so everyone can meet. And I'm just like, oh, this is going to be awkward. And like, cause I always worry about things and then they turn out to be fine. Which was exactly the situation here. Like, it was just, we did dinner and it was great and it was fun and it was just no big deal. Ari, Zach, Jeremiah, any fun, family stuff?
I think I'd like to talk about, what it's been like for Zach's parents with me transitioning.
Oh yeah.
Cause they are, they're very religious as well. They're Christians and they take that very seriously. But they're also decent humans who love people.
And those two things are not mutually exclusive as much as some people would like to think they are.
And they've been a lot kinder and more understanding to me than my biological family has been, who aren't so deeply religious, but are very conservative politically.
Which is, well, I mean, my dad is stupid conservative too.
Yeah.
So he's stupid Christian, stupid conservative. And so it was kind of a shocker to me when you came out on Facebook and all he really had to say was like, all right, well, good for you. Jesus still loves you.
Yeah. That was pretty much their reaction. Like, they just messaged me saying, we love you and we want you to be happy, so we're supporting you. And I was like, awesome, because I was really scared of what they were going to say. Because, when Zach and I first got together, as far as they knew and as far as I knew, I was just, some girl or something.
Yep, it's been a journey.
Yeah, well, so they're confused about it, I think. They don't really understand a lot about gender and sexuality. And I think when I first came out, they thought maybe I was going to, like, transition to male or something.
No, my mom asked me these questions.
Yeah, what'd she ask you?
Oh, shit. Okay, so over the course of our relationship, old Tanya would just, like, come into my room and say, hey, Zach, what's up with Ari? In regards to multiple things.
Yeah.
Early on, it was
they ate dinner last night. Like, that was, that was a thing. That was a thing they did.
So early on, it was with regards to bisexuality, which was a thing that you espoused early on into our relationship.
I didn't care if they knew about that.
Yeah, you didn't care, but my mom would come into my room and just like, is Ari gonna leave you for a lady?
Oh God!
And I said, no, Mom, no. They just like men and women. It's okay. They're still committed. Following that, the trans stuff started to come up, and my mom would just kind of like tiptoe into my bedroom at night, like sit on the edge of my bed, and I was still awake, and so this wasn't entirely creepy. And she would just look at me and she'd say, Zach, does Ari want to be a man? I said, no, Mom. Ari wants to be nothing. Ari wants to be neither. Ari wants
I want to be
be
a cat.
Ari wants to be Ari.
Yes.
So this happened a couple times, and my answer is the same both the times that it did happen. And each time it happened, my mom just said, all right, okay, just, making sure, just a nervous mom.
Yeah. Because she just wants to make sure that I'm not doing crappy stuff to her son.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
and that's so hard too, because in your head, you're like, God damn it, get it together. Like, it's not that complicated. But at the same time, like, we do have to recognize that these are people who grew up without the knowledge that this kind of thing even really existed until, well into midlife. And it's like, they're hit with this curveball, and it's like, we grew up in the same culture that they did. And for a lot of us, the only reason we had to confront it is because it's our life. So like it's part of the time it's really frustrating, and part of the time it's like, I really have to be kind of patient and sympathetic here, because like there's no way that they would know this.
Yeah.
And as far as the poly thing, I am actively
I'm
hiding
not
that
gonna
from them. There's no way they
Right.
would be able to understand that.
There are two things I'm not going to press my parents on. One, they're in their mid-50s. You would be the first person that they knew who identified as they, them, there. I'm not really going to mess with that. They've lived over half a century without meeting anyone like you. If
That they knew of.
That they knew of, yes. If you want to press them on the pronouns, we can try. See how it goes.
Right.
Shit, what was I talking about?
That's the second thing that we're not talking about.
Oh, yeah, the
is
poly stuff.
poly
Yeah,
thing.
no, not going to talk about that.
Yeah, so I don't post about that on Facebook, which is really annoying to me because I want to be able to talk about it, and it's not that I'm scared that they would. I mean, they probably would be mad at me, but I'm not terribly worried about that. I'm just like, I've already put them through so much stuff. Like, it's okay for them not to know about it. Like, if stuff changes in the future where they have to know about it, then we'll have that conversation. But yeah, whatever. It's not really worth it at this point.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not even. I'm not. I come from a background of a very liberal Christian home, except it's been so poisoned by sex negativity. Like, I can't be out about. Basically, I'm not out about Ari, because also I would have to be out about being on the podcast, which I'm not yet. And I think my mom's kind of okay with the atheism thing. She's super supportive of queer and trans people, like ridiculously supportive. But I think both my parents would flip if like I was to be openly polyamorous. And I don't even know if I'm openly polyamorous. Like, I'm sort of on the market in Boulder, but nobody in my hometown life knows about Ari. The closest thing to a family kerfuffle that ever happened with Ari was when Ashley tried to kill Ari at recent rallies.
How's that scar doing?
It's good.
Because she's basically my pod mom, so.
Right.
Today in school, I learned a lot. In chemistry, I learned that no one likes me. In English, I learned that I'm disgusting. And in physics, I learned that I'm a loser.
Today in school, I learned that I'm ugly and useless. And in gym, I learned that I'm pathetic and a joke. In history, I learned that I'm trash.
Today in school, I learned that I have no friends. In English, I learned that I make people sick. And at lunch, I learned that I sit on my own because I smell. In chemistry, I learned that no one likes me.
In biology, I learned that I'm fat and stupid. And in math, I learned that I'm trash.
The only thing I didn't learn in school today?
The only thing I didn't learn today.
The only thing I didn't learn is why no one ever helps.
Kids witness bullying every day. They want to help, but they don't know how. Teach them how to stop bullying and be more than a bystander at stopbullying.gov.
I'm Daniel Radcliffe, and I believe that reaching out for help is the bravest thing a person can do. If you are struggling and need support, call the Trevor Lifeline at 1-866-488-7386. It's free and confidential, and trained counsellors are there to listen 24/7 without judgment. To learn more about the Trevor Project's life-saving work for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, or questioning young people, go to thetrevorproject.org.
Before we jump back into the show, it's time to thank our patrons. Big shout out this week to Lauren and Bradley. Thank you so much for contributing to the show financially and for believing in us enough to support our mission to smuggle penises into women's restrooms and to force every American into their very own mandatory gay marriage. To find out more, head over to patreon.com/thegaytheistmanifesto. Thank you. So another dynamic, we've talked a lot about family here. Another dynamic that that plays into this is work. And I've told this story a couple of times on the podcast, so I'm not gonna do a full on recounting of the story. But basically, I was in a situation where a coworker asked me if I had a boyfriend, and the activist in me, I want to be like, well, what makes you assume I'm straight? Like I wanted to have that, like, I wanted to be the queer activist, but I'm like, wait a minute, like I'm at work, I don't know this person, I was still relatively new, so I was like, I don't really know how supportive of a work environment this is. So like I just said no and let it go. And then and then she asked me, this was like right around the time that Caitlyn Jenner came out. She asked me about that situation, and I eventually came out to her as trans. I came out to her as queer, and it was just like she all of a sudden was talking to a unicorn. It was the greatest thing to see. And it's really hard in those situations because hiding who you are sucks. I mean, I think all of us know what that's like. I mean, I think we've all told stories about having to hide parts of our lives from our families, whether it's about our relationships or sexualities or genders or anything like that. And then we go to work and it's the same thing, very, very innocent conversations like, hey, what'd you do last weekend? Oh yeah, me and my girlfriend went to, and all of a sudden you're out. Or, oh yeah, I went to this atheist conference, and all of a sudden you're out. So in certain circumstances, you're always having to tiptoe. So did anybody have any stories around that at, kind of weirdness, awkwardness at work?
Well, not to sound bravado, but like I've never, I don't care what people think.
No, that's awesome. I wish I could get there.
I came out in the late 90s. I was 15 or 14. Like pretty much as soon as I figured it out, I started telling people because I just didn't see what the big deal was. Guys in my class were like, oh, look at that girl. And I'm like, shit, son, look at you. And people would start telling me, oh, you're not supposed to do what? Oh, okay. I've tempered a lot as I've gotten older. I don't hide it, but unless it would come up in some sort of natural conversation, I don't usually bring it up. It's relationships, all that stuff. It is generally private to me, so I have no problem saying, oh, me and my husband went out and saw a movie, but like I've never been one to proclaim it loud and proud, but on the other hand, I've never tried to hide it. I went to a Catholic high school. I was the first openly gay person at a high school here called Moeller. And my way of dealing with that was to work out. So when anyone called me a fag, I could just shove them into a locker, which I did. It was awesome. But,
views expressed on this program are not necessarily those of Secular Media Group.
I actually worked in the same place Callie worked, and I never had a problem. I don't think I ever had any problem at work except for Kings Island when I was like 16 and I worked a summer job there. And when the manager found out, he stopped talking to me unless he had to. That was really about it. So,
well, yeah, I remember, Matt, because we renewed our friendship because we ended up working in the same place, but we used to be in the music scene in Cincinnati years and years and years ago, and I remember you were known as Gay Matt.
Yeah. Yeah, way back in the 1890s. That's
or early 2000s.
Everyone knew me because I was in all the metal bands and singing and all that, and they were, oh, that's just Gay Matt. And I found if you say it first, it robs them of their people who are against it of their power.
Right.
I am gay. That's the problem. I'm Gay Matt. Still gonna kick your ass and my band rocks.
Right.
And they can't really say anything about it. So if you make it who you are and put it in front of you, they can't use it against you because now it's your shield. So that was my experience. I don't know.
Even with customers at work, because we won't say company names or anything like that, but we spend time on the phones doing tech support. So like obviously, people on the phone are gonna, if conversation comes up, they probably assume you're straight. Do you just go with that? Do you correct people?
Yes. In fact, my coworkers would make fun of me because they would hear me say my wife or my girlfriend. because I just didn't want to deal with it.
Right.
She's sweet. She's 82 years old on the phone and her modem doesn't work. I'm not going to thrust her into a conversation about sexuality in public. Like, I just say, my wife likes that show.
Yeah.
My girlfriend likes it.
Yeah.
I kind of look at me like, what? And I'm like, yeah, I'm just not going to. I don't want to fight today.
Yeah, I actually had somebody say to me on the phone once, because it was like an old person, and we were making conversation, having fun, and somebody actually said, "One day, sweetheart, you're gonna make a man very happy," or a woman. I guess we can't assume nowadays. I was like, "Oh my god, thank you,
my hero."
What about you, Ari, Jeremiah, Zach? Any work stories along those lines?
I don't work, so.
Oh, fair enough.
He's a grad. They're both grad students.
I went to a grad student party, and my roommate, who's also a grad student, they were wanting to take me to the party, and I was Skyping Ari, and I was like, "I'll see you guys later." And then later, when I showed up at the party, she was like, she didn't know Ari's identity, and she was like, "Jeremiah, I didn't know you had a lady friend." And my gut knee-jerk reaction is like, oh no, Ari's not a lady friend. Or, well, like, Ari's... and then I was like, crap, wait, oh man, now I look gay. Oh, that's so terrible.
Because gay's the worst.
I know, by the way, I'm super straight. I don't know if I've gotten that across on this call. Super, duper straight.
Yeah,
I'm not getting
a lot of
defensive.
super straight guys.
Not getting defensive.
What about you, Celeste? Any
my work's been interesting. I've been there for 4 years. Actually, yeah, a little bit over 4 years now. So they knew me as the old me for a lot of that. And
I couldn't handle that.
I came out, had nothing but positive responses from the people I worked closely with, except for one who
I want to murder.
She told me asked me what bathroom I'm going to be using, and told me that I'm not a real woman. Nice. The first day I came out. But other than her, most people there have been pretty supportive. There's a woman that I work with now that misgenders me a couple of times, every few weeks. But she's a conservative Republican, but she's nice. She doesn't, derade me or anything else. She'll misgender me a few times, but not on purpose. It's just accidental usually. Everyone there, I usually very nice, very respectful. I love my work for its environment. I may not, make the most and I'm sorry, I'm ranting now.
No, you're fine.
But yeah. The biggest thing right now is I'm working to try to get trans-inclusive healthcare at work. But, yeah, I love my work.
Yeah, you need to get that insurance so I can quit my job, become a full-time activist, and we can use your insurance.
Oh, we still need more income than half mine.
It's all about Callie's activism.
Yes, that's what it is. We have to center our lives around that.
So people donate until Callie can make $4,000 or $40,000 a year with just donations, and we'll be good. But yeah, I have no other stories. I came out. It wasn't that big of a deal. I got many responses that were positive, and I have so much support at that college. It's not even funny.
That's awesome. Well, so we're running close to time here. I feel like we've covered a decent amount of ground. Obviously, with this many people, we could be here for days and not really exhaust the topic. But I'm just curious if anybody had any sort of parting thoughts on sort of observing the differences, the different kinds of hoops that you have to jump through, being in a queer relationship, even being in a poly relationship, because there's a lot of intersectionality there. Any sort of parting thoughts along those lines from anyone?
Well, I know, and this may sound silly, but there's not a whole lot of hoops. Thankfully, it's come so far in acceptance and terms. I remember it being a lot worse 10 years ago. I remember getting beat up in public. I remember not being allowed to go places. So I'm always grateful, but I always think in my head, there are certain places we can't go and be a couple, like the South. And that may be generalizing, and it may be stupid, but I feel like I'm always constantly aware of my surroundings and is it? I guess I'm always I still live in fear of people saying something. or starting something, which thankfully has never happened. But like, if I for some reason find myself in Deep Woods, Alabama with Tyler, I'm going to be nervous as hell. And again, it may be irrational or a generalization or even a stereotype, but that's the main difference for me. Is I still wonder when the other shoe is going to drop, when the bad thing is going to happen about it, because it has so many times. And I know that's a negative worldview, and I do want to work on that, but I do get concerned. Like, one day something bad's going to happen because of this, and how am I going to react?
I forgot to say when I was ranting that since I'm so comfortable at my work, I always refer to Callie as my girlfriend whenever it comes up. I've never been scared to say that, and she's always been my girlfriend.
Yeah,
since you were born.
I wish.
Right, always
you were
forever.
Born girlfriends.
Yeah, I went through the same kind of the same kind of process at work. It's like, first, like, you don't know these people, you know what the policy is, and the policy is great, but policy doesn't always equal practice. So it's like, because all it takes is for one person to decide they don't like you, and they're watching your every move and just waiting for you to screw up so you can get in trouble, and all that kind of stuff. So there was a lot of that at first. And I mean, when I first started there, I wasn't in a relationship, so there wasn't really that so much, but it was, weirdness surrounding being trans, and like, who can I trust with this, and and that kind of thing. And then, thankfully, by the time Celeste and I started dating, I was well aware that my coworkers just plain didn't care. For the most part, they really just don't. So, I'd say girlfriend casually, and nobody even bats an eye. Like, nobody even gives it a second thought, which is amazing. I'm really, really lucky to be where I'm at. Ari, Jeremiah, Zach.
Zach is too busy taking a picture of Spooner.
I got nothing.
I gotta say, for us three, it's kind of weird. I think it's Ari's first poly thing, like, unless you count the other, I don't know. They've gone.
It's their first poly thing, unless you count the other poly thing.
No, really. And Ari has talked about, some of the difficulties and new adventures, I guess, with between me and Zach, and like some of the boundaries that we're still struggling with. But it's been fantastic, and I wouldn't, even though it's sort of a queer relationship, I would never really identify as queer, because with regards to the struggles that the other two couples on this call have brought up, I've never experienced anything close, but I wish I could say more, but to be supportive. But I also have to give major props to Zach, because he's been with Ari for 5 years now. I don't know,
almost 6. Yeah, like
pretty
10.
much a decade.
And he's been very understanding of Ari and everything. And I've got to give props to Ari too, because it is a long distance thing, and there's a lot of struggles with one.
That's just plain not fun.
It's not, and it takes a lot of patience and work. And I've realized that I do have needs that, I would like someone in my life. I'm not a person who, is always dating someone. I just don't date that often. So it made me realize that I do need that compassion and physical contact in my life, and Ari's been incredibly patient with that too. So
you're funny.
Despite what they would want you to think and what they say, they are not a terrible person. Ari is in fact a good person, and we all love them dearly.
Ari's pretty alright.
I wanted to be sweet and everything, and now it's all ruined. So whatever. I don't
You're
know
welcome.
what to say.
Thanks for ruining that, Ari.
Oh.
All right. Well, friends, this has been a really, really great conversation. I feel like we've gotten a lot of important stuff out there, a lot of stories to to sort of illustrate the topic. So, I'm not going to go through and name everyone's name. Everyone, thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
I've been generalized.
I act like there's like 30 people on the call.
Exactly.
It's been great. It's been the best conversation ever.
Tremendous.
Great energy.
Very,
great
very good.
It's the best. Very, very good. Very
Are we really doing this?
Maybe.
I thought exactly.
I mean, I listened to the Gaytheist Manifesto, and it's a good podcast. It's very good, but it's also not good. It's kind of bad.
It's less is mad now.
They don't say enough
No,
nice
not
things
really.
about Trump.
Yeah. And that, my friends, is going to do it for this episode of the Gaytheist Manifesto on Secular Media Network. Again, want to thank all of my guests for their time, their insight, and their stories. You can find the show on Facebook at facebook.com/The Gaytheist Manifesto. You can email us at thegaytheistmanifesto@gmail.com. I'm on Twitter at GaytheistCallie. You can find the show on Twitter at The Gaytheist. And here goes Ari once again.
Take it away, baby.
All right. Hello, my name is Zach Stillman. I enjoy video games, cartoons, booze, and natural statistics. I also enjoy being a dirty boy that eats all of the snacks that Ari so graciously buys for us, leaving them with not even a crumb of anything ever. About half a year ago, I ate an entire thing of tortillas and didn't let Ari know until he decided they wanted to use just a single one of them. In order to assuage poor sweet Ari's fury, I promised to do a horribly painful outro that involved a super embarrassing public apology for my behavior sometime. That sometime is apparently now. Sorry, world, I fucked up about half a year ago. If you'd like to offer your condolences to Ari regarding the bag of tortillas that tears were literally shed over, you can contact them on Facebook at Ari Stillman or email them at aristillman4@gmail.com. Ari also wants me to let you know about this horrible show that they co-host with Jeremiah Traeger that nobody should listen to, ever. It's called the SJW Circle Jerk, and it's pretty shitty. Bye, everyone. My penance is done.
Oh, that's perfect. You up the game every time. You manage to up the game every time. It's amazing.
He couldn't be on the show and not do my outro for me. That's just not an option.
That's good. I hear that.
This was an actual thing, so.
#polyproblems. If you want to support the show and the activism we do, you can head to patreon.com/The Gaytheist Manifesto and make a per episode donation as little as $1 per episode. You can also head over to iTunes and give us a 5-star review. Before we go, I want you to know that if you're lost, you're hurting, you're scared, if you feel like no one cares and no one understands, you need to know there's a community out here that loves you, cares for you, knows that you're capable of amazing things and that you are worthy of love. If you're struggling, please don't be afraid to reach out. Until next time, friends, this is the Gaytheist Manifesto.